Captain Peter Cutsey with part 3 of cold weather corrections. We're still in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. We lifted off of runway 09, and we're now proceeding direct to Ruxum. So this is our actual position on the ILS 09 chart, and over to the left, our actual position on the arrival chart from over Ruxum. We're going to follow in VNAV and until we are given vectors, or if not, we will follow VNAV transitioning to the ILS. The difference between video 1, part 1 and part 2 is that in this part, we are at minus 35 Celsius at the field, and we have made corrections, which means, in fact, that our approach to the ILS, the intersection of the glide slope, should be correct, because we will be flying at corrected altitudes, and I wanted you to see the right way to do it. We made the correction of 8,400 feet for the Ruxum area, 7,500 feet under ISA conditions, and 8,400 feet corrected. Made correction to all altitudes. The center fix 09 at 6,500, Tovgo 6,590. And all the other points are here. No correction required for the missed approach in this case, because the missed approach is in the standard pressure region. And we would have changed our altimeter as we progressed through the transition altitude on takeoff. We'll stay in VNAV path, that's what we are in, as you notice in the pop-up on the left side of the screen. We've also corrected our minimum. And if you notice here, we'll just blow it up a little bit to make it easier to see. 2810. The published minimum was 2775, and using the chart, or even better still, super app that will give us the temperature corrected. So 2810. Disregard the 1013. It should be green. This is a simulator glitch. We have set a lower altitude. We set 6,500 for Tovgo, which is corrected. We're in VNAV path, so we should be starting our descent. And we are going to flaps 1, which we have selected, and we'll go right through to flaps 5 and select flaps 5 speed. The descent and approach procedures and applicable checklists have been completed. And we're on path. And if you look at the nav display, on path, the ILS is tuned and identified for runway 09. And we spoke about that, 110.3. And as we are turning through 90 degrees, we will observe the scales in view for the glide slope and the glide path. While we're in the turn, we will definitely arm approach. Now we've got the scales for the vertical path and for the lateral path, and we've identified the ILS IFN 086, and we are on using the nav performance scales. We are on path, and speed is coming back, and we'll actually configure now for landing. Clear down, flaps 15. Set flaps 15 speed, and speed brakes armed. And flaps 30, landing flap, and VREF 30 plus 5, speed set 147. We are 300 feet below the missed approach altitude, so we can set the missed approach altitude, which is flight level 100. We are still in VNAV path, in the turn, landing check. The landing check is complete. Incidentally, LNAV, I should say, armed and Vorlock, armed and glide slope armed. In the turn, and let's look at the VSD. The VSD is indicating super safe because we made the corrections. The corrections were made. That's why this approach will be correct. So let's watch as we intercept the glide slope and continue on. The green circles and arcs are the sector altitudes for a minimum sector altitude of 15,600 for that quadrant. And Vorlock, we have a capture. Okay, we made sure we had flaps 30 there, one person on the flight deck. Here we are, and just coming into the localizer, the raw data, and we are armed for the ILS, and we are at 6,500 feet. That's what we wanted for this demonstration. The glide slope is alive. This is when we'd actually configure for the gear. I did it early because I'm by myself. In any case, the landing check is complete, and the missed approach altitude is set at flight level 100. Let's watch now down to the VSD as we approach the Tovko. We're at 6,500, and we should intersect the final approach, and the descent to the field should start at Tovko if our corrections were correct. This is important. And I'll just pause the aircraft here for a second. In all these video parts that you've seen with respect to cold weather, we have been emphasizing the fact of using the barometric altimeter, providing it's at the correct setting, the radio altimeter, which is currently blank and will come into view approximately 2.5 or so around there miles from Tovgo inbound, as we discussed in video 1 and or 2. So it's important that you cross-check, and also the VSD if you have it, and the importance of looking at what I'll explain to you very shortly. Go channel. And if you notice the nav display, vertical path, we're coming down to the path, the nav performance scales, and the raw data glide slope capture and MCP speed glide slope. All are correct with respect to what we are expecting. Now we're going by Tovgo. Let's freeze. Let's freeze the simulator. So here we are. VSD looks good. The raw data looks good. And as we go by Tavgo, we are at the correct true altitude of 5860 feet. Why? Because we made the correction. If you notice, the altitude is close to 6,500. We made the correction. All right, let's cut us loose again, and we'll have further comments to make between here and minimum. Cannot overemphasize the importance of radioaltimeter, barometric altimeter, and VSD if you're fortunate to have it. While we were chatting, I put us into a night scene. Radioaltimeter alive, and here we are, just what I was talking about. We're roughly 2.5 miles from Tavgo inbound. So these are the things that you should be expecting when you're flying, is what to expect on the radio altimeter, when you can expect it to become alive, and why. Remember, in the previous video, part 2, we had a look at Google Earth and the height of the terrain under the aircraft, providing we were at the true altitude of 5860. The true altitude was a certain number. We saw that on Google Earth around 2,717 feet above MSL. So that's where Google Earth is extremely good, and one of the tools we use for circling to land. So the next point that we're going to be looking at, everything looks good as far as the radio altitude, the raw data ILS, all the indications on the FMA with single channel MCP speed, Vorlok is armed and or captured, and Glysop is captured. LNAV is armed for the missed approach. Everything is correct. Our corrected minimum of 2810 for a real altitude of 2775. So that had to be corrected also. So let's follow as we get closer to the ground. I will stop this recording and then come back as we approach closer to the ground. We're approaching 1,000 feet above the ground at this point. We're looking good outside, and we should. We're on Poppy, 2 red and 2 white. The radio altimeter is 900 feet, and I'll try my best to freeze the simulator as we approach our minimum of 2810 corrected. And a good idea to be speaking of the altitudes as corrected to remind the pilot monitoring, in fact, you've made corrections. And that'll be in your company SOPs. You follow your company SOPs on all of this. I am giving you one man's impression about safe aviation, and but your company SOPs will be your Bible, of course. We're approaching minimum. Follow your company SOPs for the correct call always. And when we reach minimum, we should be close to 200. They're frozen, and we're almost at minimum. So there we go. And we're right in the position that we should be. So I hope you've enjoyed the last two videos and this video, which is part 3 of cold weather corrections and the importance of knowing your airplane and knowing how to make cold weather corrections. Incidentally, there are a couple of beautiful apps that I use. And really, we're in the future. We don't have time to be looking at charts. However, if your company SOPs say that, you must make sure that you do that. But you have to do that long before you get to this point. So enjoy your flying. Boeing made beautiful aircraft, incidentally. I've been flying them for years. But any airplane is beautiful. Pilots, you stay beautiful by being professional. Thanks for watching.